Let's get started with creating a new model in here, and let's call that follower. Gonna add a migration into there. So we're gonna go into create, in this case, follower model. So we can find that inside our database folder, inside migrations. In here we need to add some information that we can then associate followers with. So let's close down our editor a bit here so it looks a bit neater. In here, let's have a foreign ID of user ID, and it's going to be constrained on cascade on delete. And we're also going to go ahead and have a follow ID. And this one, we want to make sure we specify this is also the users table. And we can also go down here and say table unique, and we're going to have follow ID in an array here, and user ID. Both of them need to be unique in this case. We should also have timestamps in here. So let's go ahead and migrate this now. And then inside our user model, we need to set up a few different things. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom, and let's go ahead in here and first and foremost create an isFollowing function. So isFollowing, and in here we're going to have this as a boolean. We're going to have a user in here. I'm going to return, in this case, this. And we're going to have a following relationship here. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to have a public function following. And in this case, it belongs to many. So we can go ahead and make sure we also import the relevant classes up here. And then basically down here where we check if it is following, we can go ahead and just check if that exists, the user ID. Perfect. So this user class is also starting to get up to be quite messy, and it's still not even done yet, so we have a lot more to add in. So we are going to be looking at organizing this into a trade as well. So we're going to have following trade basically to make it a bit simpler. We're also going to have a followers function, which again is going to relate to the user ID instead of the follower ID, and we're then going to go ahead and add with timestamps to both of them. And the other thing we want to go ahead and do is add in a toggle follow function here. So let's go ahead and call it toggle follow. This is going to be a void. We want to pass in a user here. And if this is following user, in that case, let's go ahead and say this following detach user, and otherwise this following attach user. And then we also want to notify user of new follower when we get to the notification panel. And I want to go ahead now essentially to make this a bit better in here. I'm going to go ahead and create a trace folder. And in this, I'm going to create an follow trade. Has followers, let's call it that. And then here we're going to have a namespace, add models trade. We're going to use the user model. And then let's go ahead and add anything related to following in there. Make sure we import the other classes here as well. Let's go up here and say use has followers. So basically what we're doing now is tidying up this class here, and we're going to add in more traits as we get along with the course, because otherwise you're going to end up having a bunch of functions for this user class here. And while you could argue that you may only want to use a trait if it's reusable somewhere else, and it could potentially be reusable somewhere else for your use case, it's also a good way to just tidy up an application when it gets very large in here, because you don't want to have a user class of 500 lines. It's going to be impossible to figure out where all the code is. So in that case as well, it's good to use a trait. It's either for reusability or for organizing and reducing the size of a class and to easier figure out where things are in an application. But that's essentially all for this video. Thank you very much for watching it. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.